Okay, so lovelies, welcome to the Designing Your People First Sales Process workshop. We've got about 60 minutes together today. I hope it's going to be useful for you. My name's Caroline Leon. As I mentioned to some of you, I'm based in Spain. I'm a business coach for conscious change makers, like coaches, healers, teachers, and probably most of you fall into that bracket. No worries, Jeannie, if you have to leave early, that's fine. If you haven't already, take a moment now to drop into the chat what it is you do and where you are in the world. Many of you have done that already. We've got a nice global bunch today, which I love. UK, Europe, North America. Wonderful. And I think, yes, most of you are coaches, marketing, coaching, life and business coach. Wonderful. So great. So just a quick fit check, which is something we're going to be talking about in more detail in this conversation. You're in the right place if you sell one-to-one or group services. So this is primarily focused for people like yourselves, coaches, teachers, healers, who offer services rather than products. Some of it may be applicable to products, but it's largely based on service-based businesses. For it to be a fit for what we're going to talk about today, your sales process should does include a conversation of sorts, like a sales conversation, or it doesn't currently and you think it should. You're also in the right place if you dislike selling and you find the sales conversation painful. You're in good company with me if that's the case. And finally, you're in the right place if you would love a more authentic, people-first way to enroll people into your one-to-one services or groups. So hopefully that applies. Just to let you know, I have the chat open to my left. If you see me turning, that's what I'm looking at. If you have questions that crop up, we are going to have space for Q&A and reflections on the call. But if you have questions that come up as we go through, please put them in, and I'll be keeping an eye on the chat as we go. Okay, so what we're going to cover over the next hour is I'm just going to say a little bit about conscious business. That's the term that I use to describe the work that I do. I talk about working with conscious business owners. So just introducing that concept to you, a little bit of a look at what we mean by people first. I'm going to run through some of the essential elements as I see them of an ethical sales process. I'm going to run through 2 examples of a people-first sales process based on my own business. And we're going to talk briefly about designing the right sales process for you, for your particular stage of business, because it will depend how much time you have available and those kinds of things. And then we'll have time for breakouts, some Q&A, and some reflections. Okay, so right at the top, what is conscious business? Why do I use that term? So for me, a conscious business puts people before profits. It doesn't mean that we don't like profits. It doesn't mean that we don't want money. It doesn't mean that we're not ambitious. It just means that having a positive impact on people lies at the heart of what we do. We also prioritize impact above income. Again, I'm not against money. Money is very welcome, but we are probably not in it just to make money. We're probably doing our business because we want to have a positive impact on people and planet. It's also a business that at its core is about making a positive difference. Many of the people I work with are doing wonderful work to raise the vibration of the planet and to support people to make positive changes in their lives and beyond. It's also, conscious business is also a business that prioritizes being of service over making the sale. And again, just to reiterate, we want to make the sale, but at the heart of it, what motivates us, what drives us, is being of service to our people. The word conscious, in particular for me, speaks to my spirituality. And what I mean by conscious business is that conscious business owners have an understanding of our interconnectedness. So we know that how we do business, how we treat people affects the whole. We're all connected. We can't, be doing good over here and then employing shady business tactics over here because we're all connected and it's all connected. So we have an understanding of that interconnectedness. And a strap line that I use, a concept that I talk about a lot, is this idea that when we change the way we do business, we change the world. So I have this vision of, imagine a world where the businesses with the highest levels of integrity were the most profitable. Just imagine that for a minute, what that would mean for the planet, what that would mean for the world. So I truly believe that when we do business differently, we have the power to change the world. And so that's my mission. That's what I seek to do with everything that I teach and the work that I do with clients. So what do I mean by the term people first? So for me, in terms of a sales process, a people first sales process has a different goal to a profit first sales process, for example. So the goal of the sales process is to get the best outcome for you and your potential client. Now, ideally, that's going to mean getting the sale. It's going to mean a longer term working relationship together, but not necessarily. So when we put the person first, we understand that the goal of the process is to get the best outcome for the people involved. And that's not just the potential client, it's not just the other person, it's also for you as the business owner. When we have a people first sales process, we prioritize above all else figuring out whether or not working together is truly a fit. So one of my big bugbears about many sales processes that I see used is that really ascertaining fit, like, is this a good fit for both the coach or the practitioner and the client, tends to get very little attention. Often what we'll see is some digging in of pain points and then some pitching of services. There's very little discussion had about whether or not it really does make sense to work together. So in a people first sales process, that's the top priority. We also seek in a people first sales process to create a space that feels safe in which to make the best decision for all involved. So if you're like me, you will have experienced what it's like to be in a sales process that doesn't feel safe, that is triggering, that is manipulative, that feels pressured, that has us feeling this kind of low-level anxiety. We don't really understand why. So in a people-first sales process, of course, we don't have that. We have a space that feels safe. And essentially, all of that goes to say that we put the person before the sale. The sale's important, but it's not more important than the person and the people involved in the conversation, both the practitioner and the client. So now I want to just run through some of the essential elements as I see them of an ethical / people first. For me, it's the same thing, sales process. So we want an ethical sales process to be free from manipulation, which sounds maybe easier than it looks, because much of what we're taught online about how to get the sale, how to grow our business is rooted in manipulation. So just to give a couple of examples of what that might look like, it could be using countdown timers, it could be using false scarcity, so saying that there is limited numbers when there isn't, or saying this is the last time, this is your last opportunity ever to get in on this deal when it's not. We've seen that. I'm sure you've all seen that. A classic example of this would be those webinars where you get like 10 minutes to, get the benefit of a discount before it disappears, and then you can refresh the page an hour later and it's still there. So complete manipulation, complete lies. So an ethical sales process doesn't include manipulation. It's also free from pressure. So again, if you've ever been on a sales call, and I've been on a few, they can feel very pressured. I remember back in the day when I was first working with a business coach myself many years ago, I was actually encouraged to get people to get their credit card out on the call. I don't know if people still do that. I don't know if it's still a recommended practice, but it was back then. And I remember thinking it just felt awful and icky. And so we don't want to do that to our people. We also want to slow down the sale. And that goes counter to a lot of the advice that we hear. We're often told to, jump on the opportunity to close the sale as quickly as possible before people have a chance to change their mind. So in an ethical sales process, we actually want to slow down the sale, and there's many benefits to this. I've got, just so you know, I've got a link to a Google Drive folder that I've created where you've got links to several things that I'll refer to throughout the presentation. One of them is an article I actually wrote on slowing down the sale, so you can have the opportunity to dive deeper into some of these concepts and access that reading list. In an ethical sales process, when appropriate, we might question the yes, which again feels very counterintuitive, but I'll just give you a couple of examples of when this might be appropriate. So for me, for example, if I get onto, I don't call them a sales call, call it a working together call, where really the goal is to discuss whether working together is a fit. Sometimes people come to me and I know immediately that they haven't really engaged in my content. Maybe they found me on Google, maybe someone recommended me. They've kind of like jumped straight into the process. They've gotten a call with me. They don't really know what I'm about. Yet they're very enthusiastic. They're a hell yes. And I'm curious as to why, because I don't really feel like they know me well enough to make that decision. In that case, I might question the yes. Why me? Why do you want to work with me? What would working with me in particular, my style of coaching, my approach, what difference would that make to your business? And so that feels really edgy, I think. When I first started doing this years ago, it was like, you know, it almost feels like you're pushing people away, but actually it's not. It's really diving into that fit piece and making sure that this isn't a yes because someone's looking for a quick fix. This isn't a yes because they think you're the answer to all their prayers. It's like really, you know, pushing back a little on the yes. Another place that I might question the yes is when somebody, I mean, I had this recently, somebody got onto a call with me. And I think in the form that they filled in before the call and also on the call, they were talking about the fact that they had a real difficulty with follow through. They were very, very keen to work together. And part of my question in the yes was, you know, what makes you think working with me is going to change that for you? Why will spending money on a business coach mean that you're more likely to follow through with your actions? And it's a really valid question. A lot of coaches might be scared to ask a question like that because they don't want to hear the answer, or they don't want to, you know, change the person's mind. But for me, when we're having, you know, we're putting the person first, and we're having an ethical sales process, I really want to make sure they're making the right decisions. So sometimes if that decision is a hasty yes, we might want to slow it down. We might want to question the yes and just make sure it's coming from an authentic place. In an ethical sales process, we show up authentically. And what I mean by that is often when I'm working with clients on their sales process and we kind of, you know, maybe they're doing some of the approaches that I take to sales process, and they're having conversations and they're not necessarily converting into people becoming clients. When we dive beneath the surface, what we discover is they're holding back. You know, the coach or the practitioner is holding back. They're kind of showing up to the sales call or the work together call or the gift session, whatever it might be, and they're doing everything they can to be nice, to be amenable, to, you know, not make anything too edgy or uncomfortable for the person in front of us. And when I dive deeper with clients on that, and I ask, okay, well, what happens when they actually work with you? How do you show up as a coach? You know, there's much more. Well, I would challenge them, and I would, you know, give them homework, and I would, you know, I would push back on their limiting beliefs and things like that. And it's like, you must do that in the sales process. You must behave as you would once that person is paying you within the sales process. For me, that's really important. And sometimes I think we don't do it out of a fear of scaring people off, but the right people, the right fit people won't be scared off by our approach and our way of being. They'll be inspired by it, and it will make them want to work with us even more. In an ethical sales process, I really want to see the process include ways to demonstrate our expertise. So again, you know, showing up authentically is part of that, but also I really like to give clients a really strong sense of of my expertise, what I know, what I can support them with, without pitching myself. So by demonstrating expertise, it's like we actually deliver on our expertise, and we'll be talking about ways to do that later on. But we really want to make sure that the process demonstrates what we're about and what we're capable of. We also want the process to provide value. One of my big things when I go into any sales process with clients or signups for my group programs, I want the experience of my sales process to be valuable to the other person, whether they choose to work with me or not. It's really important for me that the process is a useful thing versus feeling extractive. And, again, you may have experienced that kind of, I've been on them before, where you're promised a strategy call and you get on and they ask you some questions, dig into your pain points, and then they kind of pitch you and you think, there's no strategy here. I didn't get anything out of this process whatsoever. So we really want to create a process that provides value. Another really big important thing for me when it comes to an ethical and people first process is that it's clear and transparent. So again, you probably will have experienced processes where the price is hidden. You have to apply or get on a call before you can find out how much it costs. I really, really advise against that. I think it's really potentially shame-inducing. It's very stressful for people to have to jump through some hoops and maybe even get on a call to find out that it's something that is prohibitive in cost. So making sure that the process is clear, making sure that people understand what is going to happen at each stage of the process is really important. And it creates that kind of safety and that trust that's really important in a people first sales process. And a big one for me is our intention. So we enter the process with an intention to serve. So this, circles back to the providing value. For me, when I go into any conversation, what I want is to give this person the best possible support, advice. I'm a business coach, so a lot of what I do is actually mentoring and giving strategies and advice. So it's quite easy for me to do that. But I enter the process with this intention to serve. And that's really important for me. And I've noticed over the years that the more I lean into service and let go of the outcome of getting the sale, the more likely actually my sales process is going to result in somebody hiring me. So keeping that intention pure is really, really important. This is a piece of copy that I wrote years ago in a blog post, and I think it's relevant here, so I included it. So imagine this. You're a talented but relatively unheard of artist who has created a stunning painting. You know how to sell it without anyone ever seeing it. All you can do is describe how beautiful it is to potential buyers. How would you do it? So this is the dilemma that many people face when it comes to selling their services. They feel like they have to find the perfect words. They have to write the perfect copy and have the perfect name and have the perfect marketing in order to be able to fully demonstrate how beautiful their painting is, how effective, how wonderful their offering is. So hopefully what I'm going to share with you today has you seeing that there is a way to allow people to understand on an experiential level what it would be like to work with you without you having to use gimmicks, manipulation, snazzy copy, all of that stuff, persuasion, all of those things. Yeah, I love Sophie's comment in the chat. And if they don't hire you, they refer you. Absolutely. So many benefits come from implementing a sales process like this. So what this looks like in practice, what I'm going to share with you briefly is the two sales processes that I have used over the years. And they've shifted, my sales process has shifted as my business has grown. And I'll explain more why. I'm going to take a swig of my tea. And I want to share, I'm just wondering whether to share it with you now or later. While we run through this, yes, I will share it now. So just bear with me. What I've got for you is a shared folder. And in this, I have like a step-by-step breakdown of these two sales processes. So I'd want you to think, know that you don't have to take copious notes and you can refer back to this. So I'm just going to drop it in the chat. And if you want to open it, you can. What we've got in that folder is in the links resources and further reading document. We've got, I've got kind of like the procedure, the process actually laid out for these two things that I'm going to walk you through. So we're going to kind of run over it relatively quickly for the purposes of time, but you have the detail, including the wording I use in my emails and all of that good stuff. So I just wanted to let you know that that is there. So going back to the slides, move the chat over here again, move into present mode. Okay, so what does this look like in practice? And also one of the things that I will say here is this doesn't mean that your sales process has to look like mine. I just wanted to give you two examples that hopefully are inspiring, and you can, my hope is that by the end of this session, you'll be inspired to kind of create your own sales process that works for you. So back in the day when I didn't have many clients and I was really all about getting more clients, instead of having discovery calls, which I just never sat well with me, you know, this kind of idea of having a, 40-minute call that leaves little time to ascertain fit and relies on a pitch at the end. What I preferred to do was to give people a full 60-minute gift session. It's been incredible for my business. I've got a whole separate class that I sell on just on gift sessions, so I can't go into the detail here, but gift sessions have been an incredible way of me meeting people, getting referrals, getting new clients, understanding my target audience, getting clarity on my the struggles that my ideal clients have. So I just think they're a wonderful way, and they're also a really great way for me, have been over the years to enroll clients. So there's no selling on the call. It's just a full experience of your work, and you'll probably understand how many of this then incorporate some of those essential elements that we referred to higher up in the call. The way I've run gift sessions in the past, when you go to my, not now, this is how I used to do it before I became fully booked. You'd read my coaching sales page at the bottom, instead of it being sign up for a discovery call or a strategy call, or it would be like, if you want to experience what it would be like to have me as your coach, you can book a gift session here, no pitch, if you're interested in working together, we'll set up a separate call. So making it very clear that there's no selling on this call. It really is just a full experience of your work. What I used to do at the beginning of sessions is I would say to people, I'd reiterate right at the head of the call, I'm not going to sell to you on this call. However, if by the end of the session, you're interested in learning more about what it would look like to work together, we can set up a separate call to do that. Now, some people are like, are you kidding me? 2 whole hours to have, to potentially enroll one client. For me, what I found is taking that time and space, spending those 2 full hours with people instead of a 40-minute discovery call, translated much better in terms of sales. I got much more people because you really deepen the relationship. You facilitate trust. By the end of 2 hours together, you've really facilitated the know, like, and trust factor, which leads to sales. And I found that the more time I put into my sales process and the more value I give, the longer people typically stay with me. So the way I do coaching is a subscription. So there's a minimum period of time, but then people can stay as long as they want. The more I really support people, even before they've decided to work with me, the more likely I found they are to sign up, and the longer they're likely to stay with me. So it can feel like a big ask, which is why I think this is a good option when you're not busy, when your days are empty and you're like, where's my next client going to come from? You've got the space and time. So it's a great way to really invest in enrolling more clients. And there's a host of benefits as well, I think, to doing sales calls, which goes far beyond getting the sale. Doing this obviously slows down the sale. It's much lengthier, more meaningful process than a 40-minute discovery call. It helps you to demonstrate expertise massively. It gives lots of space to explore fit, and it provides huge value for the person. So it really hits high on some of those things we talked about earlier. So this is the process that I recommend to any business owner whose one-to-one practice is not currently full. This is when you're really like, where I need, I need more clients. So you've got that time and space to do it. It also gives you that experience. Sometimes I meet I meet coaches and practitioners who feel really miserable because they feel like they're spending all of their time marketing, and what they want to be doing is coaching. And so this is another wonderful way to be in your gift, to be in your zone of genius, to be doing the thing that lights you up while you grow your business. It kind of keeps your skills sharp and keeps you in contact with your ideal people. If a gift session isn't appropriate for your work, so for some people, it works well if you have an ongoing, longer term way of working with people. But some of my clients, for example, have had astrologists or tarot readers where, the service they offer is a single session. So to gift that would be doing themselves out of business. You can find other ways to demonstrate your expertise, provide value, and slow down the sales. So there's plenty of, I call them generous freebies. There's plenty of ways that my clients have found over the years to find ways to do those things without it being a full session, if that doesn't make sense for you. The second approach, which is what I have now, this is how I currently enroll clients, is an application form plus what I call a work together call. And again, you've got access in that folder that I shared with you to the questions in my application form. You're more than welcome to use any of them. And the email templates that I use. And then that's followed by a 1-hour working together call. Now, on that working together call, you might be wondering, what do I do? How is it different to a gift session? It's not really. I typically run my work together calls much like a gift session. I dig into whatever the client is struggling with. And I say that at the head of the call. I say, listen, we've got an hour. What I'd really love to do is get to know your business and what you're struggling with. And I'm going to give you my best advice. I mean, again, that's easy for me because I'm a strategist. That's what I do. It might be trickier for other modalities, but I really run it like a gift session. And then I'll just make sure around 10 minutes, before the end, I'll check in, see how it's feeling, seeing where the person is, and let the person know if I'm a yes to the process, because it's not always, sometimes that's the point where I might say, I'm not sure we're a fit and here's why, and give space to explore that a little bit. And I always give time and space for the decision. So it's great if somebody decides on the call, which oftentimes that happens, that they're an absolute hell yes and they want to proceed. But I always encourage that they at least sleep on it, and give themselves that space, even if they are a yes, to let me know the next day. And some people actually need more time and space, and I honor that. One thing that I try to do at the end of a work together call, rather than just leave that open loop that we sometimes get ourselves into, where it's like, oh, they said they were interested and then I haven't heard anything and now I don't know, should I follow up? Or, one of the parts for me about being really clear and transparent in the process is I will say to someone, if they ask for time to think about it, would you mind letting me know when you think you'll be able to get back to me? And I do that, and I explain this to them because I want it to feel clean. I want it to feel clear. I don't want it to be left hanging and nobody knows who's getting in touch with who. I usually also say to people at that point, I'm not going to chase you. If you are interested in working together, I do require that you come back to me. And I do that because for years, that's icky feeling that I had many years ago of like, oh gosh, what do I do? Should I chase them? Should I check in? Like that whole, I'm just checking in to see how you are, when really what we want to say is, are you going to work with me or not? I hated that. So I built into my process ways in which to encourage the person in question to come back to me. Another thing I didn't mention on the gift session piece is I'll often give homework. That for me is a really great way to ascertain fit. I will give it in the gift session a homework or an action to be completed, and I'll ask them to give me an update on that action by a certain time. That's really important to me because it shows me, is this someone who's going to follow through with their actions? It's a big part of me ascertaining, is this person a fit for me? Yeah, because we all know, probably you've all had experience of working with someone who isn't ideal, and it's an all-round unpleasant experience. They don't get what they need from the work because you're not a fit. You don't get what you need from the work. The money doesn't feel worth it when you're working with someone who's not a fit. So it's really important. So I bake in as many of those things, but a lot of what I do is designed around the person getting back to me versus me feeling like I have to chase, which nobody likes. It's not good for you, I don't think, and I don't think it's good for the person. Sophie asks, you don't recommend offering up a follow call. So it depends. So it's a great question. I typically don't. What I will say to somebody who asks for more time in this second process is I might say, if you've said you'll get back to me by Friday, for example, with a decision, but you're still feeling unsure, let me know. And if we need to hop on another call, we will. Also with the gift session process, the earlier one that I discussed, for me, if there was no conversation at the end of that call about working together, because I've said, I'm not going to sell on this call, it's a pure gift. But I'm really excited about them and I think they're amazing and I would love to connect with them again. I might simply offer them a second gift session. I don't necessarily like things called follow-up call because it doesn't feel clear to me what it is. So I'd always much rather have, this is a call to discuss working together, or this is a pure gift session. I like it to be really clear because sometimes I've seen clients get into murky waters where it's like, I offered a follow-up call and then I don't know what that was. And I didn't know if I was supposed to be coaching on it or if we were supposed to be talking about working together. So again, a big thing for me around all of this is clarity. What's the purpose of the call? What are we going to do on the call? Making sure that's clear and known to everybody involved. But great question. Thanks, Sophie. Okay, so designing the right, let me just do a quick time check. Okay, we're doing okay. Designing the right process for you. So what I'd love you to do is consider where in your process you might be missing some of the elements discussed earlier. I'd also like you to consider your stage of business and the time you have available for the process. So whether you choose to do one of the examples that I've given you, but whatever you decide to do, make sure that it honors what you have available. What happened for me is my business just got very busy. I got fully booked and it just became impossible for me to do so many gift sessions and have 2 hours per potential client. So I had to find a way to shorten it. I still do the full hour because it feels really important to me to do that, which some people are surprised by. But even as busy as I am, that full hour to discuss working together is really important. One thing I would say is don't underestimate the importance of a conversation. Sometimes clients say to me if they've got some kind of group program or do I really need to have a conversation? Can I not just get people to pay on the website? I would say if the plan is to work with people for any length of time, whether that be in a group or one-to-one, have a conversation. It's much more likely to result in a sale because you've got that connection and that trust piece. And it's really crucial for fit. It's really crucial to ascertain, is this somebody that I want in my program? Also, when you go into your sales process or a sales conversation, be really clear about what right fit looks like for you. Often, especially if we're earlier in the journey or we're, a bit short on clients, we might go in feeling like we're interviewing for the role of coach. What I found really helpful with that is if you are really clear, what do I need this person to have in place? Where do I need them to be in the process? What traits and characteristics do I need them to have? It really helps you go in with a kind of energy that isn't graspy, that isn't kind of like trying to pounce on the person to get the sale. It's like you're in the call, actually, look, I mean, I remember years ago having a client actually have his list on the desk. And he said it just changed the energy of the call, being really clear about what we called it his hell yes list. What does he need to have in place with this person for him to be a hell yes to working together versus that feeling of like, I've got to impress this person and have them want to work with me. And then, what we want to do is create a system that can be automated where appropriate. So we don't drop balls. We're not, forgetting to follow up with people or send, the questions or whatever it may be. And again, hopefully the templates I've shared with you in the folder will help you see how some of that is achievable. So that's it from the presentation. Oh yeah, I love what Sophie shared in the chat. So we're going to do a breakout session. We're going to just spend 10 minutes in pairs. And we're going to take it in turns, just share a little of the sales process that you're currently using and what you might change. So basically your key takeaways from what I've shared in the presentation, what you might change about your process as a result of this workshop. So let me just stop share. And I'm going to put you into pairs, and we're going to put 10 minutes on the clock, so we'll have 5 minutes each. Okay, so I think this should work for 2 people each. I will put my timer on. I'm not sure, but what I'll do is I'll give you a nudge. I'll drop a message in the breakout rooms at the 5-minute mark, so you know to swap over for the other person to share. So I will see you back here in 10 minutes.
Oh, there we go.
Hi. I know for some reason Stacy, she's there in the main room, but she's video is often muted and she's not coming. So
No problem.
I
No
thought I
problem.
would come in and join you, not leave you stranded here. So yes, any
Yeah, yeah.
insights, anything you wanna?
Oh yeah, this is perfect timing. I was already thinking, how can I schedule a gift session? Yeah, I guess the short story is that I'm kind of reinventing my business in a new location and in a new way, and I'm trying to blend two different um types of services. And so I need a process. And I really have to reinvent the process. So I got a lot of good input. It all resonated with me. I think
Wonderful.
it comes down to that I'm not exactly sure who my ideal clients are going to be.
Yeah.
So I actually was thinking that I wanted to ask you, what is the best process? I know you're really busy for me to have a further conversation with you.
Well, gift sessions is an amazing way to get to know your ideal clients. I mean, and if you
Yeah.
want a separate conversation with me, feel free. I'm
Okay.
gonna give, details of how to stay in touch. But
Yeah.
um, but in terms of, I mean, this is why I'm such a big fan of gift sessions, because you get to often we sit there and we try and work out who's our ideal client based on nothing,
Mm,
based on just imagining sitting in a vacuum.
yeah.
And it's impossible. We learn who our ideal client is by being in conversation with people. And that's why I'm such a huge fan of gift sessions, because every time you have a call, you're either like, oh, I love that. I love that person. I love the way they showed up. I love the topic they brought, or you
Yeah.
don't like it. You're like that. I didn't like that person's energy. I didn't, or I didn't
Can
really.
I interject something?
Yes,
Sorry to
please.
interrupt. I know we don't have a lot of time, but so before COVID and also
Yeah,
before I moved, because I used to live in Northern California, and I had a big network, right? I never had to think about this ever
yeah,
because I think there's a big part of, I guess a big part is just who I am,
yeah.
that people will resonate with me or not, but
Beautiful.
often they resonate with me if we just spend a little time together.
Yeah.
But now online, it's just thrown everything in a different direction. I feel like I've been struggling ever since then. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good realization to have. But I'm here to tell you it's totally possible to have the same effect, because that's the same for me. I know if I get in a room with people, if I present my stuff or I get on a call, typically people warm to me, which is lovely. I think I'm very blessed to have that situation. I can see why you do, but it's just as easy. May not feel it, but it is just as easy to do it in online. It just takes, it's a bit of a mindset hurdle more than anything else. I had to do it because I created my business living off the grid in the Mexican jungle. Which
Okay,
is a
got
whole
it.
nother story. But and now I live in a tiny little town in Catalonia where they don't even speak Spanish, damn it, which I
Yeah,
do. And so I've never been in a place, you know, I also used to live in Thailand. I've never been in a place where my clients are actually in my locality. So I've had to learn to find ways to
yeah,
I mean, something that a big thing that I teach is authentic outreach. And I think there may be
yeah.
inside the marketing circle, Humane Marketing Circle, there may be a class I taught on outreach. But I think honor the fact that that is that works for you and find ways to bring it into online life.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't want to just make this about me. I don't know if it's
oh no, we
enough, but is
absolutely can. You're
that
the lucky
okay?
one to do so. One thing I just
Well,
have to do, let me
okay, sure.
I just
Yep.
have to put a note to the others to swap partners.
Okay.
And then
Right.
do that.
Change partners. It's like a square dance.
Yeah, exactly. Swap over. Okay, perfect. And also I just want to check in. I think the recording continues while we're in because you're in with me. So I hope
Yeah, it
it's
looks like it's
okay.
still recording.
Are you
Yeah.
okay with that? That this will be on the recording?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
I'm not gonna bare my soul quite yet.
Okay. But yes, oh, that's my time. Let me just put another 5 minutes on the clock before I forget.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. So yes, what else? Tell me.
I think it all starts where I've had a long career in sustainable business, and then I became a leadership coach, and I find over and over that I'm sure it's the way that I do it, but when I present that I do both, and now I'm trying to blend them, it confuses the heck out of people.
Yeah.
Right? Are you a leadership coach or you're a sustainability person? And I'm both. So that's probably at the heart of the confusion. Once that kind of gets clear, then a process will unfold.
Yeah. One thing I would recommend with that is because I have several clients in a similar who
Mm.
have a similar dilemma. Sometimes, you know, if I ask someone to clarify, okay, tell me what the difference is, and then they tell me in their words, I'm like, perfect, that's super clear. But we somehow don't feel like we can be really clear in our website copy and our conversations. And so one of the things I would encourage you to do is like, how would you, in the simplest terms, explain the difference between the two, and maybe even some of the commonalities, and have that front and center on your website, you know?
Okay.
I
Yeah.
work with these two groups. It's something that I'm exploring a little bit at the moment because for years, you know, obviously I work with conscious business owners. And for years it's sort of been open as to what stage of business they may be at. I'm starting to see very clearly defined distinctions between, you know, people at the beginning of the journey, people in the feast and famine stage of the journey, people at the, you know, who are making 6 figures plus, and they're back in the, you know, they don't need clients, they need help with systems, you know.
Right.
So I'm currently looking for ways to make that really crystal clear on my website so that it's just not confusing.
Yeah.
And so don't be, I guess what I'm saying to you is don't be afraid to state the obvious, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah.
That's super timely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll stop there, but I'm hoping I'll have another conversation with you.
Oh, wonderful.
What about you? Do you have just a few minutes? Is there anything that you want to bring up?
Um, No, I mean, for me, it was really interesting pulling together the slides of this and realizing that my sales process has evolved over time. I guess it's making me think, is there a new iteration? Is there a new thing? But I don't think so. I think I'm really happy with
I
my
think you're good with it.
sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's evolved over the years. I've um, really tweaked it. You know, every time something has come up where I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like how I feel about this situation, like the piece around, do I follow up? Are they getting back to me? That kind of uncertainty. I've built into the process ways to mitigate it. And so sometimes people say to me, I do get the feedback occasionally from people that I appear very boundaried because not in my everyday, but when they encounter my processes on my and I move them through my onboarding. So that's something I probably need to look at, because every time something's happened that I don't like, I kind of create a process, I kind of, okay, let's put a boundary here, let's make this clearer. And sometimes I think that can be a bit overwhelming because it's a lot for people. So that's something I'm, I've been working through lately.
Well, it feels like you appeal particularly, I'm sure it's not the only group, but to sort of deeper thinkers, which I would put myself in that bucket. So, I mean, everything you said was very accessible and welcome.
Oh, wonderful. And I'm just wondering, do you have my email address?
I do not.
Yes, I can send it to you directly.
Okay.
And then you can reach out to me anytime.
That sounds great. Yeah, we'll do that. Just have a feeling about it. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, I think I'm gonna call, where are we on time? Yeah, I'm gonna call people back. So at some point.
Okay, great to talk with you.
Yeah, great to talk to you. Lovely to meet you, Rory. Are you in the circle? Okay.
I am.
I am. It clashes so much with my everyday sessions, but yeah, you'll also find me in there at some point.
Excellent. I'll see you soon.
Okay. All right. Thanks. I'll see you in the main room.
Okay.
Bye, Carolyn. Bye.
Affordable.
Affordable. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever increased your prices?
Oh yeah, I have. With the same idea of like, when would I introduce a form? It's the same. Like as the more I get booked, the more my calendar fills up. That's the time when I could. But one of my core values in my business is affordability and inclusivity. So I do tend to keep my prices probably lower because that's the group of people I love serving. It's a good question though. Thank you.
And do you do
now,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're aware that we're in the main room now and everybody's joining, Sophie? I'm just checking in with you.
Oh, it looks like Sophie just disappeared.
Oh yeah, she was at, yeah, good thing that I told her. No, we've been having issues with the internet, both me and Sophie. I got booted out, she froze, so yeah.
Oh, bless.
She's going to come back.
Oh, wonderful. Sure. Well, yes, there she is. Hi, Sophie. Welcome back, everyone. Okay, hopefully that was fruitful conversations and some nice new connections. So basically, we have about 10 minutes for questions, reflections, anything you want to share really or ask me. I'm wide open. I'd love to hear from you. So it's super fruitful if someone switched.
I don't think I have a question, but I do want to say I appreciated the conversation with Lisa, and I think for me what's happening is reminding me of some things that I know, because I think I've forgotten a lot of what I've done, but also helped me listen to someone else's process. I love the international aspect because I love the commonality of our passion about doing the work that we love, and that to be around that, and then to hear different processes or around it. So I appreciate, Carolyn, all that I've appreciated all these sessions to take a moment and say, where do I fit? Am I okay being who I am? Am I okay doing work in the way I do and others? So I think it's just been really wonderful.
Lovely. Thank you for that. Thanks, Janice. And I love, often I get feedback when I do these sort of things, that people say they really appreciate the information, and on some level it feels so obvious, so common sense. But I think sometimes what I like to bring is like a voice of sanity amongst the madness, because outside of this space, there's a lot of, I think, toxicity in the online business world. So yeah, it's always nice to be reminded that we can do it the way we want to do it.
Carol, I'm going to say one other thing too.
Yes.
Just the way you just talked about it, you were so clear, and I felt your strength, and this is who you are. I almost felt like your feet are on the ground, your boom, like there's that feeling. So I do go by that feeling of things, around there, but I'm like, oh, this person really is clear in her process, who she is. And it was wonderful to experience, because I'm, saying, who am I? How do I be it? So I appreciate it on many levels,
Oh,
about it.
bless you. That's such a lovely thing to
Because
say.
I think all of us want to be true to who we are, and do
Yeah.
this thing called coaching,
Yeah.
whatever works. So thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Who else would like to share? And if anyone wants to share about their process or anything that they do that wasn't covered in what I talked about that fits the bill, I would love to hear what other people are up to with their sales processes.
I have a question for everyone. May I do that?
Yes, go for it.
So my question is, I talked with Carolyn a little bit about this. I guess I'm a little old school in a way that I'm still missing being able to do everything in person, even after all this time. So what I want to know is, I mean, I know we as a community and lots of us take deep breaths and do various things to be centered, but is there anything that anybody does when you come online to like feel like you're creating that in-person energy somehow that works for you?
Great question. Yeah.
Can I actually share something that Caroline does? Because I'm in one of her programs, and I now have shamelessly stolen it for everything that I do. I do it in person and online. She does a lovely kind of, grounding exercise, and there's much more to it than this. It's all about checking in with your body, and it kind of brings everybody from the day and kind of brings them into the space. But the bit I love the most about it is when she gets us to she says, and let's connect with each other through time and space and take 3 breaths together. And then she guides us to inhale and exhale together. And there's something so special about breathing at the same time as other people. Love it.
Lovely feedback, Mia. Thank you. I love it too. It's great for the host. It really helps you kind of like settle in and connect. I love that feedback. Stacey.
I'm also in Caroline's group, and I second what Mia said. And my favorite part of it is after we've done the breath, we all connect verbally by giving one word of how we're feeling. So after having done that grounding, what's the one word, how you feeling now? And that verbal connection just adds the extra dimension or element to the whole connection.
Lovely. This is great for me. Lovely feedback. One thing I will say about the one word check-in, one of the reasons I introduced that, because it felt really important to me, is I'm fine hosting. I don't know how this works, but I'm perfectly comfortable hosting. As a participant of a group, I have a tendency to hide. I'm much more inclined to not speak out or to hold back. And for me, doing that at the beginning of a call and making sure everyone gets to speak into the room right off the bat. So if you're introverted or nervous, or which would be, where I might fall, having that one word at the beginning of a call, actually speaking in before anything even gets going is really helpful for me. And on that also, Rory, because obviously we're talking here about groups, but what's really helped me over the years, kind of, I guess, facilitate that feeling of in person is to, when you go online, it can feel like a really noisy place, and it can feel like, how do I connect in this group of 10,000 people, or this, on Instagram, whenever. And so for me, a big focus of everything I do is about building relationships. And so everything that I teach and that I do for myself in my own business is really focused on how can I connect more deeply or deepen a relationship with this one person, versus feeling, sometimes we feel with the internet like it's all about one to many. It's all about speaking to the masses, which can feel for our types of people just awful. Just, I'm a highly sensitive introvert. So for me, what's really helped me over the years is just think it's just one, if I can just think about one person, the one person I want to send a note to, or the one person I want to reach out to, or when I'm creating even a newsletter or a post for social, I'll try and base it in a client session I've had. You know, I'll be thinking about, oh, my client asked me this question, let me create something for them, you know, for that one person, knowing of course it's going to be helpful for many. So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's how I've done that.
That's really helpful, and a great analogy is I'm also a singer, and that's what they have you do when you're singing, you know, focus on one person in the audience. So that really helps. Thank you.
Right. Wonderful. We probably have time for one more share, and then we'll have to wrap up if anyone wants to say anything or ask anything. Well, I'll ask one question. Will people be making changes to their sales process on the back of this? Wonderful, I'm getting some nods. Okay, now one thing I want to share with you actually before we do wrap up is if you want to keep in touch, so I'll reshare that folder so you have it to hand, and I would click on it before the call, before the call finishes, to make sure you don't lose access to it. And also I'd just like to share with you the link to join my newsletter if it feels appropriate as a way to keep in touch. I endeavor to send out what I call a soulful strategy newsletter once a week. It's probably more like twice a month, but if you wanted to keep in touch, that's one way to do it. I'm also inside the Humane Marketing Circle. Don't get to attend many of the events because they clash often with my own programs and sessions, but yeah, hopefully I will see some of you around there. Thanks, Adam. All right, lovelies. Take care, everyone. And if you've got questions and you know, you can find me inside the circle. I'll be happy to answer them. Lovely to meet you all. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.